Welcome to my channel. This is your go-to place for quick, easy-to-digest summaries of famous books, perfect for anyone who wants to gain knowledge without spending hours reading. Whether you're walking, cleaning the house, or just relaxing, these audio-first summaries are designed to fit effortlessly into your day. I pair each summary with minimalist visuals, showing a simple mind map of key points from each chapter. It's all about helping you grow, learn, and reflect in a calm and efficient way. No extra fluff, just the essentials. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and activate notifications so you never miss a new summary. Let's make personal growth simple and accessible together. Thanks for being here, and let's dive in. Introduction to the Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Mark Manson's The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck is a refreshing take on self-help, cutting through the typical positivity and feel-good advice. Instead, the book emphasizes the importance of choosing what to care about and focusing on the things that truly matter in life. Manson argues that our time, energy, and attention are limited, so we need to be selective about what we give our fucks to. Through blunt humor, personal stories, and psychological insights, the book challenges readers to embrace their flaws, accept the inevitability of pain, and build resilience. It's not about being indifferent, it's about caring deeply for the right things and learning to let go of superficial expectations. The book provides a guide to living a more authentic and meaningful life by prioritizing values, facing uncomfortable truths, and making peace with life's uncertainties. Chapter 1. Don't Try. In the opening chapter, Mark Manson sets the foundation of his philosophy: stop chasing happiness and success by trying too hard. Instead, focus on what genuinely matters to you. He begins with the story of Charles Bukowski, a writer who embodied this mindset. Bukowski wasn't the ideal success story. He lived a messy, unconventional life as a failed poet, drinker, and gambler. Yet, when he embraced his flaws and stopped pretending to be something he wasn't, he found success on his own terms. His tombstone reads, "Don't try," which symbolizes that success and happiness come not from forcing things, but from accepting yourself and your reality. Manson challenges the cultural obsession with positivity, arguing that life is full of struggles, and that's okay. He says that trying to avoid problems or pretend everything is fine actually makes us more miserable. Instead, we should face challenges head-on and focus on the things that truly matter to us. Practical examples. 1. Work pressure. Imagine being overwhelmed at work because you're trying to please everyone, your boss, your colleagues, and even yourself. Instead of worrying about what others think, focus on doing the tasks that align with your priorities and values, even if it means saying no to extra responsibilities. 2. Social media validation. Many of us stress over likes, comments, and followers. Manson argues that constantly seeking this kind of validation is exhausting. Instead, focus on meaningful relationships and what makes you happy offline. 3. Pursuing perfection. Think about how much energy people waste trying to be perfect, whether it's in fitness, career, or relationships. Manson emphasizes that perfection is an illusion, and embracing imperfections makes life more authentic and enjoyable. Key takeaway. We all have a limited amount of time and energy, so we should be careful about what we choose to care about. Stop worrying about everything and focus on what aligns with your values. Accept life's imperfections and you'll find freedom from unnecessary stress. Chapter 2. Happiness is a problem. In this chapter, Mark Manson makes a bold statement. Happiness isn't something you achieve by avoiding problems. Instead, it comes from solving them. He explains that problems are a constant in life. When one problem is solved, another one takes its place. So, the key to happiness isn't living a problem-free life, but learning to embrace and work through the problems that matter to you. Manson draws inspiration from the teachings of Buddhism, which emphasize that suffering is a natural part of life. People often feel unhappy because they believe something is wrong with them for experiencing pain or struggle. However, Manson argues that pain is necessary. It's how we grow, learn, and find meaning. Instead of running from problems, we should focus on solving those that align with our values. Practical examples. 1. Fitness goals. Let's say you want to lose weight or build muscle. The process involves discomfort, working out regularly, eating healthier, and resisting temptations. The joy doesn't come from avoiding the effort, but from overcoming the struggle and achieving progress. 2. Relationships. Healthy relationships aren't free of problems. They involve compromise, vulnerability, and dealing with conflicts. Avoiding those challenges leads to shallow connections, but facing them strengthens bonds. 3. Career growth. If you want a promotion or a dream job, you have to work hard, face setbacks, and sometimes deal with failure. The happiness comes from the sense of accomplishment after working through these challenges. Key points. Happiness is action. Manson emphasizes that happiness is found in the process of solving meaningful problems, not in avoiding discomfort or chasing pleasure. Choose your struggles. Since problems are unavoidable, the key is to choose the problems you're willing to face. For example, if you value health, you'll embrace the struggle of exercising. If you value relationships, you'll work through tough conversations. The feedback loop from hell. Manson describes how obsessing over happiness can make you unhappier. For example, feeling bad about feeling bad creates a negative feedback loop. The solution is to accept negative emotions and recognize they're part of life. Key takeaway. Happiness doesn't come from avoiding problems, but from solving the ones you care about. Accept that life will always involve struggle and focus on finding meaning in the challenges you choose to face. This mindset shift can lead to more fulfillment and less stress. Chapter 3, You Are Not Special. In this chapter, Mark Manson addresses a harsh but liberating truth: you are not special. Society often tells us we're unique, destined for greatness, or entitled to a perfect life simply because we exist. However, Manson argues that this mindset can lead to entitlement and frustration. Instead of feeling like the world owes us something, we need to accept that we're just like everyone else, flawed, ordinary, and human. Manson critiques the rise of a special snowflake culture where people believe their problems or achievements are more significant than others. He warns that this attitude fosters entitlement, either by making people feel superior or inferior. Both extremes are counterproductive. The truth, Manson says, is that real self-worth comes from working through life's challenges, not from being told you're special. Practical examples. 1. Personal success. Imagine someone who expects instant success in their career just because they graduated from a top university. When they encounter setbacks, they feel like the world is unfair. Manson would say success requires effort, humility, and persistence. Credentials alone won't carry you. 2. Comparing problems. Some people believe their struggles are worse than anyone else's. Manson explains that everyone faces problems, and believing yours are special only keeps you stuck instead of working on solutions. 3. Social media highlight reels. On platforms like Instagram, it's easy to feel inferior by comparing your ordinary life to the seemingly extraordinary lives of others. Manson reminds us that most people's specialness is just a curated illusion. Key points. The tyranny of exceptionalism. Society glorifies being extraordinary, but the truth is most people are average in many areas, and that's okay. Trying to be exceptional at everything is a recipe for burnout and dissatisfaction. Acceptance of mediocrity. Being average isn't an insult, it's reality. By accepting this, you can stop chasing impossible standards and focus on what genuinely matters to you. Growth through humility, embracing your flaws and limitations, opens the door to learning, growth, and improvement. Thinking you're too good or too bad to face challenges stunts your personal development. Key takeaway. You don't need to be special to live a meaningful life. Instead of chasing perfection or wallowing in self-pity, focus on what you can control and strive to improve. Accepting your ordinariness is freeing because it removes the pressure of constant comparison and lets you find peace in just being yourself. Chapter 4, The Value of Suffering. Mark Manson shifts the focus in this chapter to one of life's most important questions: what are you willing to suffer for? He argues that our values determine the type of problems we face and ultimately the quality of our lives. Not all suffering is equal, and if we choose poor values, we'll suffer in unfulfilling ways. But when we pursue meaningful values, we give our suffering purpose. Manson explains that pain and discomfort are unavoidable. Instead of running from them, we need to decide what struggles are worth enduring. Choosing better values isn't easy, but it's essential for living a fulfilling life. Practical examples. 1. Fitness goals. If your value is looking good to impress others, the effort of going to the gym may feel like a burden. But if your value is maintaining good health, the same workouts become purposeful, making the struggle worthwhile. 2. Career choices. Someone chasing a high-paying job for status might feel trapped in an unfulfilling career. On the other hand, pursuing a job aligned with their passions may involve hardships, but those struggles feel more meaningful. 3. Relationships. Avoiding conflict in relationships may seem easier, but it leads to unresolved issues and resentment. Valuing honesty and open communication, even when it's uncomfortable, results in stronger connections. Key points. Values shape your suffering. The struggles you experience depend on what you value. If your values are shallow or external, your suffering will feel empty. Deep internal values lead to meaningful challenges. Good versus bad values. Good values are rooted in reality, actionable, and within your control. Bad values depend on external validation or outcomes beyond your control. Ownership of problems. Manson emphasizes taking responsibility for your problems, even when they aren't your fault. Blaming others or external circumstances may feel satisfying temporarily, but it ultimately disempowers you. Key takeaway. Suffering is inevitable, but you have the power to choose what's worth suffering for. By aligning your values with what truly matters to you, you can find purpose in your struggles and create a more fulfilling life. Don't avoid pain. Embrace the right kind of pain that leads to growth and meaning. Chapter 5, You Are Always Choosing. In Chapter 5, Mark Manson emphasizes that life is full of choices, and whether we realize it or not, we are always choosing how we respond to our circumstances. While we may not control what happens to us, we have complete control over the meaning we assign to those events and how we react. Manson argues that taking responsibility for our lives, not just for our successes but also for our problems, is the foundation of true freedom. Blaming others or external circumstances robs us of power. By owning our choices, we reclaim control and create meaning in our lives. Key points. Life happens, but you choose how to respond. We can't control everything that happens to us, but we can control how we interpret and react to it. Example: if you're stuck in traffic, you can choose to get frustrated and ruin your mood, or you can choose to listen to music or a podcast and stay calm. Taking responsibility for everything in your life. Responsibility doesn't mean everything is your fault. It means you are in charge of how you handle it. Example: if someone insults you, you didn't cause their behavior, but you are responsible for how you respond, whether you let it ruin your day or brush it off. Avoiding the victim mentality. Playing the victim might feel comforting, but it keeps you stuck. Real power comes from recognizing that you have the ability to make different choices. Example: if you're unhappy in a job, you can blame your boss, coworkers, or industry, or you can take action by developing new skills, applying for other positions, or making a career change. Freedom through responsibility. Owning your choices gives you freedom because it puts your life back in your hands. When you accept responsibility, you stop wasting energy on things outside your control. Practical examples. Choosing gratitude over complaints. When faced with a tough situation, instead of complaining about what's wrong, choose to focus on what you can learn or improve. For instance, if your plans fall apart, it's an opportunity to practice resilience, breaking free from bad habits. If you're unhappy with your health, take responsibility for your eating and exercise habits instead of blaming genetics or time constraints. Improving relationships. If a friendship feels strained, rather than waiting for the other person to fix it, take the initiative to communicate and resolve the issue. Key takeaway. You may not always control what happens, but you always control your response. Life is full of choices, and by taking responsibility for your reactions and decisions, you gain the power to shape your life. True freedom comes from owning your circumstances and choosing to act in alignment with your values. Chapter 6, You're Wrong About Everything, but So Am I. In this chapter, Mark Manson explores the idea that humans are constantly wrong about almost everything. Our beliefs, assumptions, and perceptions of the world are flawed and ever-changing. He argues that instead of clinging to certainty, we should embrace uncertainty, question our beliefs, and remain open to being wrong. Growth happens when we let go of the need to always be right and instead focus on learning and improving. Manson uses the concept of the backward law to illustrate this. The more we try to cling to certainty or control, the more we struggle. Letting go of our ego and accepting that we're often wrong can lead to better decisions, deeper relationships, and personal growth. Practical examples. 1. Relationships. If you believe you're always right in an argument, you'll never truly listen to your partner. Acknowledging that your perspective could be flawed opens the door to better communication and resolution. 2. Career. Imagine someone who is resistant to feedback at work because they think they already know everything. By admitting they don't have all the answers, they can grow professionally and improve their skills. 3. Life choices. People often regret decisions because they were too sure of what they wanted at the time. Manson suggests being flexible and open to changing your mind as you learn more. Key points. Certainty is the enemy of growth. When you believe you're absolutely right, you close yourself off to new ideas and experiences. Growth requires admitting you don't know everything. Our beliefs are temporary. What you believe now may not be what you believe in 5 or 10 years. Manson encourages humility and curiosity in how we approach life. The importance of doubt. Doubt isn't a weakness, it's a strength. It allows us to question, explore, and adapt instead of getting stuck in outdated or harmful beliefs. The Manson's Law of Avoidance. Manson explains that we avoid confronting our fears and flaws because they threaten our sense of certainty. But facing them head-on is what leads to true growth and freedom. Chapter 7, Failure is the Way Forward. In this chapter, Mark Manson dives into the relationship between failure and success, emphasizing that failure is not the enemy, but a crucial part of progress. Many people avoid failure because it feels uncomfortable or humiliating. However, Manson argues that avoiding failure is essentially avoiding growth. Success doesn't happen despite failure, it happens because of it. Manson introduces the idea that improvement and progress come from the willingness to try, fail, and learn. The key is not to fear failure, but to see it as an opportunity to get better at something you value. Practical examples. 1. Learning a skill. If you're learning a new language, you'll make mistakes when speaking, but those mistakes help you improve. The more you practice, the fewer mistakes you'll make over time. 2. Starting a business. Entrepreneurs often fail at their first ventures. However, those failures teach them valuable lessons that eventually lead to future success. For example, Steve Jobs was fired from Apple before returning to make it one of the world's most successful companies. 3. Fitness goals. Someone who wants to run a marathon but struggles to even complete a mile isn't failing. They're building endurance through those early struggles. Progress comes from consistently showing up despite setbacks. Key points. Action inspires motivation. Many people think they need to feel motivated to take action, but Manson flips this idea. Action creates motivation. Even small steps like starting a project or taking a risk can lead to progress and more motivation to keep going. The failure-success loop. Failure isn't the end, it's part of a loop. You fail, learn, adjust, and improve. The more you embrace this process, the more likely you are to succeed in the long run. Failure eliminates fear. Once you experience failure and survive it, the fear of failing becomes smaller. You realize that it's not the end of the world, and this builds confidence. Redefining success. Success doesn't mean avoiding failure. Instead, it's about choosing meaningful challenges and working toward them, even if you fall short at times. Every failure is a step toward mastery. Key takeaway. Failure is not a dead end, it's a stepping stone toward success. Instead of fearing failure, lean into it, learn from it, and use it to grow. The willingness to fail and try again is what separates those who succeed from those who don't. Chapter 8: The Importance of Saying No. In this chapter, Mark Manson focuses on the power of setting boundaries and saying no to things that don't align with your values. He argues that many of us struggle with saying no because we fear conflict, rejection, or missed opportunities. However, constantly saying yes to everything spreads us too thin and dilutes our focus on what truly matters. Saying no is an act of self-respect. It allows us to protect our time, energy, and values. Manson explains that living a meaningful life isn't about having endless options, but about committing to the right ones. True freedom comes from narrowing our focus and dedicating ourselves to the things that bring us purpose and fulfillment. Practical examples. 1. Relationships. Imagine a friend who constantly asks for favors that drain your time. If you're afraid to say no, you'll end up resentful. Saying no respectfully sets a boundary, preserving your energy for relationships that are mutual and meaningful. 2. Work-life balance. A manager might assign extra tasks beyond your workload. By saying no, you prioritize your health and productivity instead of burning out. 3. FOMO, social events, side projects, or opportunities often feel urgent, but saying no to things that don't align with your long-term goals creates space for what truly matters, like spending time with family or pursuing a passion. Key points. Boundaries are essential. Without clear boundaries, people and situations will drain your energy. Healthy boundaries aren't about being selfish. They're about protecting what's important to you. Saying no creates focus. When you say no to distractions or unnecessary obligations, you free up time and energy for the things you value most. Commitment is freedom. Paradoxically, limiting your options creates freedom. When you commit to a few meaningful things, you reduce decision fatigue and find deeper satisfaction in life. Rejection is part of life. Learning to accept rejection is necessary. Manson argues that rejection isn't personal. It's simply part of setting and respecting boundaries. Key takeaway. Saying no is one of the most important tools for living a meaningful and focused life. It's not about shutting people out, but about committing to the right things and protecting your time, energy, and values. Learning to say no helps you avoid distractions and focus on what truly matters. Chapter 9: And Then You Die. In the final chapter, Mark Manson confronts one of life's ultimate truths: death is inevitable. While this might seem grim, he encourages readers to use the reality of death as a source of clarity and motivation. By accepting that our time is limited, we can focus on what truly matters and live a more meaningful life. The fear of death often drives people to avoid thinking about it, but ignoring death can lead to living without purpose or direction. Manson argues that acknowledging death gives us a sense of urgency to prioritize our values, relationships, and goals. Key points. 1. Death gives life meaning. If life were infinite, nothing would feel urgent or important. The fact that life is finite makes every moment valuable. Recognizing this can help you live more deliberately. 2. Legacy versus immediate fulfillment. Many people try to create a lasting legacy to cope with the fear of death, such as building wealth, fame, or monuments. However, Manson argues that true fulfillment comes from focusing on what matters in the present: relationships, experiences, and personal growth. 3. Confronting your mortality. Avoiding the thought of death leads to shallow living. Facing your mortality head-on helps you realize that trivial matters aren't worth stressing over. What will people remember you for? How will you spend your time? 4. The feedback loop of death. Thinking about death reminds us to focus on meaningful values. Meaningful values lead to actions that create a fulfilling life. A fulfilling life makes us more at peace with death. This loop helps us align our actions with what we truly care about. Practical examples. 1. Simplifying decisions. When overwhelmed with choices, ask yourself, if I were to die tomorrow, would this matter? This question quickly clarifies priorities. For example, spending time with family may feel more important than working overtime or attending a trivial social event. 2. Letting go of trivialities. Imagine someone cuts you off in traffic. Is it worth your energy to get angry? Probably not. Thinking about the bigger picture helps you move past minor irritations. 3. Living fully. Consider a person who's always wanted to travel but keeps putting it off. Confronting their mortality might motivate them to book that trip instead of delaying it endlessly. Key takeaway: life is short and death is inevitable, but this isn't a reason to despair, it's a call to action. Accepting the reality of death helps you let go of unimportant things and focus on creating a life that feels meaningful to you. When you live authentically and value the present, you'll face the end with fewer regrets. Conclusion: wrapping it all up. Life is short, messy, and often unpredictable, but that's exactly what makes it meaningful. The subtle art of not giving a fuck teaches us that freedom and happiness don't come from having no problems, but from choosing the right problems to tackle. It's not about giving up or becoming indifferent. It's about being intentional with what you care about. By embracing our limitations, accepting pain as a part of growth, and focusing on meaningful values, we free ourselves from chasing superficial success and start building a life of purpose. The key takeaway: you don't have to care about everything, just care deeply about the right things. So ask yourself, what truly deserves your attention, your energy, and your effort? Let go of the noise and start living authentically, because in the end, it's not about how much you give, it's about what you choose to give a fuck about. Thank you so much for listening. If you found this summary helpful, don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and any suggestions for other books you'd like me to cover in future videos. Until next time, keep learning, stay inspired, and I'll see you in the next one.